All right, so let's review 6 practice problems from Tuesday's lesson. Remember, the absolute value is defined as the distance from the origin. And you can always just think to yourself, the positive output, the positive output, the positive output. So 42 in the absolute value bars, we can call this the absolute value of 42. How far is 42 steps forward from the origin? That's right. We call it a distance of 42. Okay. Number 2. How far is 120 steps backwards from the origin? Still 120 steps. Okay. Number 3. The absolute value of negative 83 is 83. Okay. Number 4, the absolute value of 6.75 is still 6.75. The absolute value of 460 is still 460. The absolute value of negative 18.7 is still negative 18.7. Oh wait, I caught myself right there. The absolute value even doesn't matter. Backwards or forwards, I still went 18.7 miles, let's say. Clear? Okay. You can pause the video if you need to catch up. But right now I'm going to go to the 3 agreements. Okay. So now I'm going to refer to this definition above. What is the absolute value? And let's come up with some agreements because this is algebra class. We are going to have to solve for x. Okay. All right. So the 3 agreements. Once again, go back to my story about the PE class that I had where the one classmate went 4 laps in the other direction. Okay? Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. It's a little bit weird, but it doesn't matter because, he just wanted to be different and go 4 laps in the other direction. So the most important one to understand is agreement number 1. There is no such thing as negative distance. Okay? So I'm going to clarify this. There's no such thing as, quote, negative distance. I'm going to turn away really quick. Okay? There's no such thing as negative distance. Think about in life. If I jog backwards, do I get a bigger belly? Do I gain more calories? Oh man, I'm hungry. I should probably jog backwards. Oh man, let's go in the car. I'm low on gasoline. Can I go in reverse and gain more gasoline? I don't need to go to this gas station. What are you talking about? No. You still burn calories by jogging backwards. You still burn gasoline by driving in reverse. There's no such thing as negative distance. There's forwards and there's backwards. So I want to clarify once again, if that makes sense to you, the Fitbit doesn't care. There's forwards, okay? Forwards or backwards is still distance. Now, I grew up playing Mario Kart, so I remember if I tried to go the laps backwards, I forget what his name is, but that character goes, "You're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way," and it'll pick you up and make you go the correct way. So forwards or backwards is still distance, and we still measure distance in the positive. Okay? Okay. We always measure distance in positive units. That's agreement number 2. Okay? If you go, quote, the wrong way, right? If you go backwards towards your goal, if you go backwards from your goal, that means that you have more catching up to do, hence more distance. Do you see what I mean? Okay. The output of the absolute value bars can never be negative. Okay, so these 3 agreements are super important to know for the next 2 days. There's no such thing as negative distance. And just to clarify, you can go forwards, you can go backwards, but you're still gonna get tired. You're still gonna use energy. You're still gonna burn gasoline. We always measure distance in positive units. And the absolute value bars can never be negative. Anytime you have bars equaling a negative number, that's a no-go, sir or ma'am. Okay? So if you guys need more time, go for it. Okay, pause the video if you need it, because I'm going to do some problems. Now we're going to get into the real deal algebra. So, previously, the directions used to say solve for the indicated variable. Now, I'm going to take you out of your comfort zone because the directions are going to say find the solution set. I used to teach at other schools and people used to get anxious when the directions used to say solve for x and now they say find the solution set. Why do you think it says find the solution set as opposed to solve for x? Well, find the solution set implies that there could be multiple solutions for the problem. So there's multiple answers. Take, for instance, the absolute value of x equals 5. Remember, inside the bars indicates forwards or backwards. The output represents the distance. So what is this question asking me that I haven't seen yet? Well, going back to my cartoon character, there's an x, and remember, in algebra, x is a variable, and a variable indicates I don't know what it is yet. So the variable states the variable is in the bars. So in fact, the question is, how do I get a distance of 5? So how do I get a distance of 5 as opposed to, how far is 5? So in this case, remember, there's forwards and there's backwards. So what I like to do is split this into 2 parts. X can be 5 or x can be -5. You must put both responses in the problem to get full credit. Let me turn it to the left a little bit so you can see. So in order for this statement to be true, the bars can be split into 2 categories, forwards and backwards. Don't believe me? let's check our work. I've never trusted you guys for a millisecond. So let's plug in. Check x equals 5. So the absolute value of x, and I'm going to plug in 5. What's the absolute value of 5? Well, it's 5. I'm going to check the absolute value of x, but I'm going to plug in -5. What's the absolute value of -5? Also 5. It checks out. Okay. I'm going to do another problem where I'm going to ask with the cartoon character. Okay. All right. The absolute value of n is 7. Okay? The absolute value of n is 7. In this problem, the cartoon character is thinking to himself, how do I get a distance of 7? Remember, there's forwards and there's backwards, but the goal is to get a distance of 7. So I split into 2 parts. Either n is equal to 7 or n is equal to -7. And I can check my work by plugging it in. What's the absolute value of 7? The absolute value of 7 is 7. What's the absolute value of -7? Well, the absolute value of -7 is also 7. We have 2 solutions that make this statement true. Okay? All right, I'm going to throw another one out there. The absolute value of v. The absolute value of v is, go to the next one. The absolute value of v is 0. Well, think about this with common sense. How do I get a distance of 0? Well, you don't go anywhere. How do I get a distance of 0? There's only one possible way. You don't go anywhere. If the bars equal 0, that means that there's only one way to do that. You go nowhere. Any questions? Well, geez. Wow, I asked any questions to an empty classroom. Wow. It's going to take some time to get used to that. Okay, let me just get some more problems. Okay. All right. See if you guys can do these independently. The absolute value of x, number 4. Number 4. The absolute value of w is 12. Number 5. The absolute value of q is 25. Okay. Okay. You can pause the video if you need more time. I'm going to dive right in. Okay. So let's break this down. How do I get a distance of 12? Remember, the variable is on the inside, so I can split this up by saying w, you can go forwards 12 or backwards 12. Therefore, w equals 12 or w equals -12. The absolute value of 12 is 12. The absolute value of negative 12 is also 12. Okay, let's keep the ball rolling. Let's go with the absolute value of Q is 25. How do I get a distance of 25 steps? Simple. I can go forwards 25 steps or backwards 25 steps. Either way, I'm still going 25 steps because my Fitbit doesn't care. So Q can be forwards 25 steps or negative 25. Any questions? Wow, I did it again. Oh, wow. I miss you guys. Okay. Number 6. The absolute value of y is 162. Okay. How do I get a distance of 162 steps? Well, I can go forwards 162 steps or backwards 162 steps, but either way, I'm going 162 steps. So, y equals negative 162 or positive 162. Okay, I'm going to throw a special case out there for the next problem. We're going to do 10 problems in total today. Okay, number 7. It's going to be interesting. The absolute value of C is negative 4. Okay. I'm going to bring out the comic book character once again. A little smiley face with a thought bubble. So I want to make this clear. The question is asking, how do I get a distance of negative 4? Okay, so let's try some things. Well, my first instinct is to plug in plug in C equals negative 4. So if I plug in C equals negative 4, I get the absolute value of blank, and I'm going to plug in negative 4 in for the absolute value bars. Hopefully that's going to get me negative 4. But the absolute value of negative 4 is 4 based on our agreement that we always measure backwards still in positive distance. So the absolute value of negative 4 is still 4, but it couldn't hurt to plug in C equals 4 itself. Plug in C equals positive 4. The absolute value of 4 is also 4. I'm not happy. Well, if the absolute value bars equal a negative number, that's impossible. There's no such thing as negative distance. So the answer is C has no solution. The variable has no solution. This problem is impossible to solve. There's no such thing as negative 4 steps, or going back to the 4 laps. There's no such thing as negative 4 laps. My classmates still did the mile run. Okay? All right, I'm going to put 3 problems at the end, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, number 8. The absolute value of x is 7.35. The absolute value of P is -9. And the absolute value of Z is -16.5. Okay, I'm going to let you guys do these independently, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, you can have the pause button at your disposal, because I'm coming up. All right, so first things first, now that we know that these problems can try to trick you, the bars are isolated. Is the output positive or negative? Okay, it's positive, so that means that I can break this up into two cases, because distance is always measured in positive units. So the absolute value of x is 7.35. How do I get a distance of 7.35? Well, I can go, I don't know how you do 0.35 steps of a fraction of a step, but let's just go with it. So I can go 7.35 miles forward or 7.35 miles backwards. Either way, if I plug it in, the absolute value of 7.35 is 7.35. The absolute value of -7.35 is still 7.35. All right, number 9. The absolute value of P is -9. Are the bars equal to a positive number or a negative number? A negative number, right. So if the bars are equal to a negative number, the problem is impossible to solve. In this case, there's no such thing as -9 steps. So P has no solution. Because the bars can never equal a negative output. Let's take a look at number 10. The absolute value of Z is -16.5. Is the output, are the bars isolated? Yes, we've got bars. Is the output positive or negative? Oh, and it's negative. So if the bars are isolated and the output is negative, that means that the variable has no solution. Z has no solution. And sometimes in life, problem has no solution, but we always overcome. I was trying to be inspirational right there, but this is math class. Anyway, I will see you tomorrow.